The search began not in the deep, but here, on the restless skin of the sea.
For months, they had hunted a ghost, a legend recorded on faded parchment.
The galleon Nuestra Señora de las Mercedes sank in a hurricane. Its greatest treasure was never found.
Their key to the abyss was this: a manned submersible, capable of descending into darkness.
Today, they would make the long fall, 1,200 meters down, to where light surrenders.
The Caucasian light-skinned female pilot watched the world fade above her. Each meter of descent was a step into a colder, heavier reality. At 300 meters, the last traces of sunlight died. They were now in the eternal night of the midwater.
She activated the lights, and the void erupted with life.
Creatures of living light drifted by, ancient residents of this pressurized realm.
Below, the seafloor began to materialize, not as sight, but as sound. A ghostly landscape born of sonar pings.
The abyssal plain. A desert of mud under the weight of 1,000 atmospheres.
Their search grid was precise, based on archives, surveys, and a single, tantalizing sonar anomaly.
The target was a ravine, a scar in the seabed where currents had carved a hiding place.
They descended into the cut. Here, the ocean's pressure felt like a physical presence, a constant groan in the hull.
Time moved differently here. Minutes stretched. The search was a meditation in patience.
There, embedded in the wall, and shape that refused to be natural. With robotic precision, they began to clear away the centuries of accumulation. Metal. Corroded, but unmistakably worked by human hands. A chest. Its dimensions match the historical records exactly.
200 years. It had waited here, in the crushing dark, for this moment.
They documented everything: its position, its size, its state. Discovery was only the first step.
They marked it, a digital breadcrumb to guide the heavy machinery back to this spot.
They left it there, temporarily. The real challenge was yet to come. As they rose, their heavy-duty, remotely operated vehicle descended. The Hercules was built not for looking, but for lifting.
Back on the mothership, the mission transformed, from exploration to heavy salvage.
The plan was simple in theory: free the chest, secure it, and lift it gently through a kilometer of water.
They would use a custom recovery basket, a cradle designed to distribute the immense stresses of the ascent.
The Hercules found its mark with machinic certainty. The work began. The ocean did not give up its prize easily. Sediment had fused to it like concrete.
Millimeter by millimeter, they shifted history into its new cradle.
It was secured with straps strong enough to hold a truck. Any movement could be catastrophic.
The final connection. The ship's main salvage cable, their single tether to the world above.
The moment of commitment. There was no going back now.
The lift began. Slow, 15 meters per minute. A controlled ascent from the abyss. The Hercules escorted its charge upwards, a guardian against the unseen dangers of the water column. They rose through layers of life, through changing pressures and temperatures. The water itself began to remember the sun.
A final pause. A breath held. All systems were checked. The surface was now a tangible reality.
A storm was coming. They had a narrow window to finish this.
It breached. After 3 centuries in darkness, it returned to the air. The transfer from sea to steel was the most dangerous dance of all.
With the treasure secured, the ship turned and ran for calmer waters. The storm was at their heels.
The real work began in the laboratory. A climate-controlled fortress against decay.
The chest bore the scars of its long immersion. But its structure, miraculously, was intact. They cleaned it with the care of archaeologists, preserving every detail, every story the ocean had written on its surface. Beneath the accumulation, craftsmanship emerged. The joinery, the metalwork, the marks of its makers.
A name, a date, a direct line to the world that built and lost this chest.
The lead seals, the Viceroy's final security measure. If they held, the interior might be preserved.
Centuries of pressure had compressed it, welded it shut with corrosion. It did not want to open.
It gave, and the chest exhaled air 200 years old. Gold, Spanish doubloons and Portuguese Johannes. The faces of dead kings stared up from the deep.
Each coin was a piece of a vanished empire, a unit of trade, of war, of ambition.
Below, the silver. Bars stacked like bricks, their value stamped into them by long-dead assayers. And the jewels. Emeralds like captured forest light. Rubies like frozen blood. At the bottom lay something different. Not currency, but faith. A bishop's ransom, meant for a cathedral across the sea, lost to the hurricane's fury.
They had done it. They had pulled history, tangible and gleaming, from the crushing dark.
For the salvage master, it was another small victory against the ocean's endless entropy.
A storm passed. The ship turned for home, carrying its impossible cargo.
Their work now was preservation. to stabilize these objects for the world they were returning to.
Every piece was photographed, measured, catalogued. Its story was just beginning.
The chest was empty, but it was full of something else now. Proof.
The tools of recovery were cleaned and stowed. The mission's frantic pace gave way to quiet reflection.
He always looked back. The ocean kept its secrets well, but it had yielded one.
The reliquary contained a sliver of bone, a saint's fragment, destined for veneration in a new world. The captain understood the weight they carried, not just in gold, but in history and responsibility.
We did it. Thank you all for your hard work out there. Go get some rest.
For the crew, this was a moment to remember. A story they would tell for the rest of their lives.
Recovery successful. All artifacts secure. Proceeding to port as planned.
The world above was notified.
For the archaeologist, the find was a thesis, a book, a lifetime of study made real in a single dive.
She replayed the discovery in her mind. The thrill of that first glimpse of worked metal in the light.
The ship sailed on through the night, a speck of light and purpose on the ancient, indifferent ocean.
With care, the wood began to speak. Its grain told of the tree it came from, the saw that cut it.
He analyzed the lift data. The stresses had been high, but within tolerance. The engineering had held.
Context was everything. How it lay, what surrounded it, these details told the story of its final moments.
Life returned to normal. The ocean offered its familiar, joyful companions.
A fine treasure for the crew tonight. To the deep and to bringing things back.
They celebrated not just the find, but the safe return of every person from the depths.
Port authorities were notified. A secure reception was being prepared. Their isolation was ending.
It's time.
The artifacts would soon leave their care. They would enter a new world of museums, scholars, and courts.
The last phase of their duty, to prepare the treasure for its journey overland.
The chest that had survived the abyss now required a wooden womb for its terrestrial voyage.
Landfall. After months at sea, the sight of the horizon solidifying into Earth was always profound.
Pilot boat, this is the container vessel. Prepare for transfer. They are alongside, Captain.
Very well. Helm, slow ahead to 5 knots.
They returned to a world of steel and concrete, of bureaucracy and noise. A reception committee awaited. The transfer of custody would be formal, witnessed, and documented. Each case was logged, signed for. The chain of custody, unbroken from the seabed, now extended ashore.
The first debrief happened there, on the sunlit dock, the excitement of discovery still fresh in his voice.
For the salvage master, this moment was always bittersweet. The job was done, The find was someone else's concern now. The treasure vanished into the system, headed for vaults, labs, and eventually the world stage.
Life on the ship resumed its normal rhythm. They were a tool, and tools are prepared for the next job.
She would dive again, but never again for this. That singular moment was now a memory.
The ship felt different. Emptied of its singular purpose, it was just a vessel again.
For the crew, the reward was simple: solid ground, a cold drink, and a night without watches.
The chest began its next life in the pristine silence of a museum laboratory. The artifacts started their journey into the public eye. Their beauty, hidden for centuries, now dazzled anew.
The world was told. Headlines declared the find. The legal battles over ownership began in quiet offices.
The ship and its crew moved on. Their purpose was the deep itself, not just the treasures it held.
He became a storyteller. His lectures were no longer just theory, but illustrated with photos from the abyss.
For a new generation, history was no longer words in a book. It was this: solid, tangible, and shining.
The ocean never ceased its call. There were always more wrecks, more mysteries, more darkness to challenge the light.
The chest was empty, but it was full of stories, of a storm, a sinking.
The paper trail met the physical evidence. History had written a record, and the deep had preserved its proof.
Science placed the chest in time. The tree that formed it was growing while Bach composed his cantatas.
For some, the sea never leaves the blood. He rebuilt the memory, piece by miniature piece.
The pressure wasn't just on the hull, it was on us. To be careful, to be worthy of what we found.
She spoke of ethical recovery, of preservation over profit, of treating history as a patient, not a prize.
He paid his respects to those who came before, to the dreamers who looked at the sea and wondered, but lacked the tools to know. The coordinates are logged. The site is now protected by international treaty. The ocean floor is not a scrapyard, but a museum itself.
New stories emerged from old paper. The treasure was not just wealth, it was someone's hope, someone's fear, packed in a hurry.
The objects gained deeper meaning. They were not just loot. They were fragments of personal faith and fragile ambition.
He saw the work, the invisible preservation, the battle against time and seawater that continued every day in the climate-controlled dark.
The legacy was not in the gold, but in the spark it lit in a new mind. The next generation of explorers was born.
On the ship, it became a talisman. Proof that a single blip on a screen could change everything.
The beginning of the story was violence. A storm that shattered wood and dream.
It began with a tree, a craftsman, and an order from a powerful man in a powdered wig.
Every detail held a question. Who held the key? What was the last human face to look inside before the sea?
The public could now share the crew's first perspective, to see the moment of discovery through the acrylic viewport.
The data, he tells his students, is the true treasure. It teaches us how to do it better and more safely next time.
The tools of recovery became tools of pure science. The pursuit of knowledge continued, in different forms.
The deep's natural wonders were also celebrated. The treasure was not only man-made.
The story entered the realm of fiction. It became a catalyst for imagination, not just historical record.
The find funded further exploration. The past paid for the future's questions.
This is the Atlantis Seeker. The spark took hold. A career was being chosen under the glow of a laptop, inspired by a glimpse of gold.
After years, a settlement was reached. The treasure's story would be shared, its historical value prioritized.
The care was eternal. The fight against entropy never ended, only changed battlegrounds.
She continued to descend, showing new eyes the wonders of the deep. The true treasure, she knew, was the ecosystem itself.
The bonds forged in the pressure of the mission
lasted a lifetime. They were forever crewmates.
The sea was always there, in the sound, in the air, in the memories of those who had...
It became part of the furniture of history. Extraordinary, only to those who stopped to learn its story.
It was answered by light, held in the hands of the curious.
The work never truly ends. The ocean is monitored, studied, listened to. It is a living archive we are only beginning to read.
Technology allows us to rebuild what was lost, to see the vessel not as a wreck, but as it was in its prime.
The story entered the library stacks. It became one of many tales of the sea's power and mystery.
Knowledge was passed on, not just the what, but the how and the why of caring for the past.
History became a map of interrupted journeys, each terminus a story of disaster, and sometimes of discovery.
She returned to the surface, to the simple joy of wind and sail. The deep had taught her respect, not fear.
Even the mud held beauty, a record of countless microscopic lives that had fallen, like snow, onto the chest.
The next generation learned through their hands. The thrill of discovery, even in a simulation, sparked joy.
The chest was placed in a web of craftsmanship. It was no longer an isolated object, but part of a trade network.
The object generated new scholarship. It answered old questions and posed new ones for fresh minds.
Ships, like stories, evolve. Their purpose changes with the needs of the time, but their core, to explore, remains.
The final act of remembrance, to name the lost, to acknowledge that the greatest treasure is always human life.
The ocean keeps its surface serene. Its depths hold every story.
Life in the abyss continued, undisturbed. The brief visit from the world above was already fading into geology.
Between those two emptinesses lay the whole story of loss, search,